program. Actually, we are all aware of the situation where Father Stan Swami was arrested, and then a lot of human right violations. At this point of time, we want to conduct our national council on 17th and 18th. In view of the council, usually we used to conduct a lot of input sessions. So this is a very important input session for the ICUF national leaders. Every state has national leaders, and with that particular idea in mind, the initiative of Father Dr. Maria Arul Raja, this program has been arranged. Thanks to Father Philomin. He's an advocate as well as he holds a doctorate in law, practices in the High Court of Madras High Court. There is a bench in Madurai. He's an advocate over there. Resides at Madurai. So we are happy to welcome each and every one of you. In fact, ICUFs are having one program in Calcutta, the initiative of Women Commission, and then that probably it is getting over now, 5 to 6 o'clock, I believe. And then welcome to all of you, all the ICUFs and all the other sisters, fathers, those who belong to the Forum for Justice and Peace, and other well-wishers. Welcome to one and all. Good evening to you. The program begins with a prayer. That prayer is preamble. Preamble will be read Father Dr. Maria Arul Raja, Director of IDCR. Over to Father Maria Arul Raja.
Let's pray the Constitution of India. Through the Constitution of India, with the Constitution of India. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens, not a few, justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. Dignity of the individual and the unity and the integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. I invite you to maintain silence for a few seconds in honor of those people who have shed blood, who have shed their sweat for the integrity of the country, for the dignity of the citizens, and for the sovereignty of our nation. A few seconds in silence. Thank you, friends. Let's resume our discourse for building
Thank
up
you, Father
the
Maria Arul
broken
Raja.
country.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Febin Dominic is the full-timer of ICUF. national full-timer, works with me, is a student of Loyola College, Chennai. He will introduce the speaker of the day. Over to Mr. Febin.
Good evening to one and all present here. Father dear Philomen Raj is a Jesuit of for 19 years, practicing law in Madurai bench of Madras High Court, mainly undertaking human rights violation and caste atrocity cases. Founded the Madurai Legal Awareness Coordination Committee to work among the neglected groups and weaker sections of the people. Penned 7 books on various social legislations. Recently defended PhD thesis successfully on a study of police encounter killings in Tamil Nadu, human right perspective. In the Faculty of Criminology and Criminal Justice in MS University at Tirunelveli and was awarded PhD. At present, working at Ideas, a Jesuit social action center belonging to the Madurai province, especially concentrating on eradication of manual scavenging and for the revitalization, conducting various programs for youth, women and religious on the constitution, democracy and secularism. We welcome you, Father dear, Dr. Philomen Raj.
Thank you, Febin. So, Father Emma, shall I start? Hello.
Philomen Raj, yes, you can start right now. Yes, Philomen.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Good evening, one and all. Nice to see you all online. I first of all thank for this great opportunity to Father Maria Raja, who asked me to give this presentation. I'm very happy to see all the three units coming together and organizing this particular webinar, namely IDCR, Social Watch Tamil Nadu, and ICUF. So here I would like to present a PowerPoint so that you will quickly take note of what I am trying to present during this time. See, before we entering into the Constitution, the question of Constitution and human rights. Constitution is a very valid document. It needs to be defended. So in the view of Dr. Ambedkar, because we cannot omit Dr. Ambedkar when we talk about the Constitution. So he had a greater mission in his life. What was the mission? He dedicated his whole life for the emancipation of the Bahujan masses from the yoke of Brahminism. So all through his life, he was in a way waging a great war against Brahminism and the Brahminic hegemony. So when we talk of Bahujan includes SC, STs and OBC and all Sudras and Adi Sudra communities excluding Brahmina and Banya. Baba Sahib thoroughly prepared himself for this war. How he prepared, he read all the revolutionaries' life, particularly Buddha and Muhammad, Jesus Christ, Karl Marx, Phule, Mahatma Phule. So he was very much thorough with all the life of revolutionaries and how they worked for the social justice and human rights in their time. Moreover, he was very much thorough with the teachings of all the religions, including Hinduism. He understood the raw truths and facts. That means the reality of India with its breadth and length. Further, he did an in-depth research on caste in India and thoroughly understood its genesis, development, and its mechanism. So regarding drafting of the Constitution, When he was elected to the Constituent Assembly, his opponents were terrified because he was a very terrorizing figure for the opponents, namely the Congress and the Brahmins. However, he was elected by the Constituent Assembly to the drafting committee. Later, he was elected chairperson of the said committee. Till then, his focus was educating, uniting, and fighting. So he was educating the people and uniting them and preparing them for a greater war. He wanted to wage a war with the Brahminic hegemony. To the contrary, the Herculean task of drafting the new constitution fell on his head. Though it was a tough job, he took it as an opportunity to bring out a noble document for the nation to achieve his purpose. We need to look into the question of reservation, because reservation is the core issue and a fundamental human rights. Dr. Ambedkar submitted a representation before the South Bureau Commission telling that the untouchables were not a part of the Hindu religion. So this is a core thing he placed before South Bureau Commission as well as Simon Commission. In Simon Commission, he gave 4 reasons because he was particularly demanding a separate legislative powers, legislation for the downtrodden community, especially untouchables. So he gave 4 reasons. That is, this particular class is backward in education, they are economically, they are penniless, socially, they are the slaves of the Hindus, politically, they have many disqualifications. Therefore, he said that our people should be granted reservation according to our population. For yet another question, during the time of Simon Commission, he said emphatically, I can tell with emphasis that in many cases, the judges themselves commit injustice to the untouchables. Therefore, I want my educated people to become judges and to be in government services. For that, reservation is a must because it's a very long-standing historical injustice done to the communities, namely Sudras and Adi Sudras, the OBC, SCs and SCs. So they need to get a reservation so that they will come up in life to some extent. Today we can find his words become true. In cases like Hathras, Kairlanji, we find the courts are turning a deaf ear to the vulnerable communities. In Patna meeting, immediately after his resignation from the cabinet, he said, we cannot tolerate the injustices anymore, because he was very much aware the population of the country. It consists of 90% of SC/ST backward classes and the exploited nomads called Sudras and Adi Sudras. For changing this picture, it is necessary to educate, to organize, and to fight. Remember, the coward dies repeatedly, but the hero dies but once. This is the famous statement of Ambedkar. Now, I would like to call your attention towards the socioeconomic cost census that was undertaken by the government of India in the year 2011. So it is very significant. The census is very vital to understand the current reality. However, the government run by the Brahminical forces, I would say Brahminical mafia, cunningly refused to release the facts and figures of the said census till date, because once it is revealed, the cat will be out of the bag. When people approach the courts for the release, again the Brahminical court refused to interfere, saying it is a policy matter of the government. This is how the courts are behaving nowadays, we know. I would like to throw some light on first roundtable conference. Of course, in that conference, Gandhi did not attend, but Ambedkar was a very special invitee. On the 5th day of the conference, Ambedkar delivered a very memorable speech. What to recall? The delegates were just dumbfounded, because in that particular speech, in fact, Ambedkar exposed the raw reality of India, because it was not very well known to the British government, the intricacies of the caste system and the reality of Indian situation was not known to them. This is a particular talk. It was made really the British and the members of the delegates of the conference to become aware of the reality. Similarly, second roundtable conference, of course, Mr. Gandhi, though he was not invited, Congress sent him as their representative. And he claimed to be the genuine leader of the untouchables. Gandhi was, in fact, presenting RSS viewpoints before the conference. That is, that needs to be taken note of. Gandhi was vehemently opposing the move to give separate electorate because before all the commissions, including Simon Commission, Ambedkar was vociferously pushing in and lobbying for the separate legislation, separate electorate for the untouchables. Whereas Gandhi was vehemently opposing that. Gandhi justified untouchability while he claims to be the real leader of the untouchables. See the contrary. Similarly, in the second roundtable conference, Gandhi was against the adult franchise. He was also against the right to vote for women. It is Dr. Ambedkar who won both the rights from the British government. Then Gandhi insisted upon the right to vote being given only to the literate citizens because he was considering all Sudras, Adi Sudras, the illiterate as foolish people. This is how he wanted to once again support and bring in the Brahminical order to establish Brahminical order immediately after independence. Similarly, the second RTC means Roundtable Conference that was concluded on the 1st December 1931. And after a period of 8 months, British government declared the communal award, that is on the 17th August 1932. The communal award granted Dr. Ambedkar all sorts of rights. He commented in these words, "This award was like a lightning, ending the slavery of the Indian masses for a while after a darkness of 2,500 years." Dr. Babasaheb won the following demands through this award. One, independent electorate constituency for the untouchables. Number two, adult franchise. Number three, right to two votes for the separate electorate. Number four, representation to the communities in proportion to their population. These were very significant demands he placed, and the British government granted after the second roundtable conference. Ambedkar was in a way forced to sign the Pune Pact. Of course, during the second conference, Gandhi also signed the document, the conference document, which included all the demands. But after coming here, he really betrayed or ditched, saying, "I will not agree to the separate electorate." This is how he enacted a very big drama in Pune, Eravada prison, and various rumors were passed that Gandhi is dying. So after giving a lot of pressure to Ambedkar, in a way, he was forced to sign the Pune Pact. In an interview given to BBC in 1955 condemning the Pune Pact, he asked what change it is going to bring in our lives just by standing in a line for voting once in 5 years for the elections of the joint electorate. So this is a major question he raised. This is a very pertinent question. We need to ask it today also. What he visualized has become true. Election after election, people are standing in lines after every 5 years and just voting, but they are continued to deprived of all their fundamental and human rights. Dr. Ambedkar was working towards floating a joint front of the SC, ST, and OBC for fighting the common enemy, namely the Brahmins. When Babasaheb raised the issue, it was resisted. He raised the issue in the Constituent Assembly in favor of OBC also, but it was very cunningly resisted by the Brahmins. Then the Congress and the Brahmins indulged in dividing the OBC leaders so that Ambedkar would not succeed in his effort. Burning of Manusmriti on 25th December. Of course, he did it in Kranti Bhumi. He took a revenge on the Brahmins on two counts, because one is Dr. Mahatma Phule wanted to burn the Manusmriti. That is done. And second thing, he wanted to take revenge against the Brahmins who really, in a way, very cunningly eliminated Shivaji Maharaj. So these are the two things he fulfilled. Now, Doctor has become a real threat to the Brahmins. So we need to concentrate a little bit on the first general election. In this election, Nehru issued 60% of the tickets to the three population of the Brahmins and got elected 47% of Brahmins to the parliament. Thus, the very first election itself, the Brahmins had a full control of the parliament, and till date it continues. In contrary to the constitution, in any country, the law is passed, any law for that matter, for the protection and for the well-being of the subjects. But only in the Brahminical order, it is with the laws are passed for the exploitation of the subjects. So that is what we see in all the laws that has been passed all through the Indian independent era. For the past 6 years, we find it aggressively being done. The notion of government in today's context, the very notion of government needs to be questioned. Absolutely no elements of the so-called government is found in it. In fact, it's not government, but a gang which has captured power through illegal and fraudulent ways by using the existing system, namely democracy and the election process. This nature of gang occupying power is popularly known as oligarchy. So it is not, in fact, a government that is existing in the central land states, whereas a mafia is mafia has captured power. After consolidating power, they abuse the power to push in their hidden agenda. That's what we find. Of course, Ambedkar was very critical about media because media was full of Brahminical forces. So he tells at one point with a lot of pain, he says that they have maligned me because the media has maligned me. They have misrepresented my views. They have mutilated my speeches. So this is how they have damaged my image. So this is the very words of Ambedkar. In today's context, we find the same thing happening because during Ambedkar time itself, the entire media was in the hands of Brahmins. And today we find it is much more worse. And we know all over the world, India's media stands second in corruption and in paid news. Significance and salient features of India. In the book India After Gandhi, written by renowned historian Ramchandra Guha, it is stated in 1931, Churchill argued that to abandon India to the rule of Brahmins, who in his opinion dominated the Congress party, that was true, would be an act of cruel and wicked negligence. If the British left, he predicted, then the entire gamut of public services created by them, the judicial, medical, railways, and public works departments would perish, and India will fall back quite rapidly through the centuries into the barbarism and privations of the Middle Ages. That's what's happening today. He predicted very strongly. So that's what Churchill, in 1931, so he had known to its fullest extent the reality of India. With this background, we will have a quick look into the Constitution of India. Of course, our Constitution is the articulated vision. It's a vision of the members of the Constituent Assembly after long discourses and deliberations for a freed India, taking into consideration the aspirations of the people, because the multicultural, multilingual, the very nature, pluralistic nature of the country. So everything needs to be taken into consideration. And India consists of 3,000 castes and another more than 20,000 subcastes existing in the country. So such a beautiful country with a lot of pluralism. So this was taken into consideration by the members of the Constituent Assembly. Drafting committee. It's a complex document, constitution, and not to be construed as mere law. It is not merely law, but as a machinery by which laws are made. This is the base. This is a fundamental foundation for any law to be made in the parliament. Hence, it is always vibrant, dynamic, and not static. That's what we find in the constitution. It provides for the democratic function of the government. This is, of course, the largest written constitution in the world. Constitution, of course, it defines and it determines the relations between various things. One is various institutions and the government. Various constitutional institutions are there. So this is talking about the relationship between these institutions and the government, whether it is a state or central. And number two is it is talking about that it is dealing with the relationship of executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Number third one is central, state, and the local governments. So the relations between these group, these governments is taken care of. People and the government, of course. And fifth one, political, social, and economic issues. Constitution is the supreme law of the nation. So, but we know what is happening to the Constitution in today's context. It lays down a broad framework for the normal functioning of the nation as per the evolved vision. The Constituent Assembly totally, there were 299 members. Earlier it was 389, then later it was reduced to 299. Most of them were Brahmins, and only 30 from scheduled castes. This is due to the persistent effort taken by Dr. Ambedkar through his various organizations. And he was repeatedly appealing to the British government to create a space for the downtrodden community in order to make independence a meaningful one. And there were a number of women, only 15 women, among them only one Muslim, a few representatives from other communities. So this is the these are the members of the Constituent Assembly. The major sources that contributed for this constitution is, of course, Buddha's teachings. Ambedkar was very much influenced by the teachings of Buddha and his Dhamma. So that was a very great influence in the constitution. Second one is the French Revolution. Third one, Communist Manifesto, Russian Revolution, World War I, World War II, and of course, UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that was declared in 1948, and various countries became signatories to that document. And this is till date, it is celebrated as the vital document in upholding human rights. Ideas borrowed from various nations. So the constitution is beautifully drafted after including various good aspects existing in various other nations' constitutions. These are the lists: Britain, United States, Canada, Ireland, Japan, France, Weimar, Australia, Soviet Union, South Africa. Principles upheld in the constitution is live and let others live. Respect, recognize, accommodate, and acknowledge others. Exercise your rights and let others to do so. Exercise your freedom and let others enjoy their freedom. This principle is very much, these are the principles, these principles are very much damaged and no meaning in today's country's existence. Fortunately, the architects of the constitution consciously refused to subscribe to the pressure of considering the rules of Manu, which upheld caste hierarchy, Brahminic supremacy, patriarchy, because till then, before the constitution, in each and every village of India was experiencing this hegemony of Brahminism. The Manu's principles were in order. So this was a context, and even today, Father Stan Swami has been arrested in Goregaon, Bhima Goregaon case. Bhima Goregaon, it's a pride of Dalits. Of course, 500 Dalits facing more than 30,000 Peshwa's army and eliminated them. This is a history. So Manu Smriti was very much operative in each and every village in the Indian society. So, however, the Constituent Assembly, namely the chairman, Dr. Ambedkar, was very, very conscious of that and neglected their demands. The primary task was to alleviate poverty, hunger, and to bring equality among the citizens. So this is the task of the Constitution. There are other salient features of the Constitution. One is constitutional supremacy and not parliamentary supremacy. Parliament is not the supreme. Here, the Constitution is the supreme in the nation because the Constitution was created by Constituent Assembly, not by Parliament, and adopted by its people with a declaration in its preamble. And another salient features are institutions of governance. One is legislature, judiciary, executive. All of them are independent and get their power from the Constitution and are bound by it. The nature of the Constitution, it is a federal. It is providing for federal setup. India is the union of various states, not one state. It is a conglomeration of states, and that is a federal nature, needs to be defended and upheld. Powers are well defined between the states and union. There is a union list and a state list and concurrent list in which both the state and the center will have a say. However, If you look into the constitution, state governments are having a big say in so many things. But unfortunately, these years, specifically for the last 6 to 7 years, the central government is slowly taking away the rights of the state one by one and making the states like municipalities. The states have been reduced to municipalities level because absolutely the states have no power, precisely by GST. The GST problem is everywhere it is talked of. Most of the states are objecting to the ways the central government is dealing with the GST, but GST has very powerfully taken. This is totally unconstitutional. It is against the spirit of the Constitution. Amendment to the Constitution. So Article 368 deals with amending the Constitution. At least 2/3 members present should vote for any amendment. Certain amendments which pertain to the federal nature of the Constitution must be ratified. For example, GST. It is affecting all the states. So the central government cannot have an individual say. It has to consult the states, and the law should be ratified by a majority of state legislatures. So far as this GST is concerned, the matter is pending before law court, and this is not done so far. Similarly, the same thing is happening in various other laws also. Amendment to the Constitution is widely discussed in the famous case called Kesavananda Bharati versus the state of Kerala. Kesavananda Bharati, the very person, died very recently. And in this case, a 13 members bench, this is the largest bench ever constituted in the Supreme Court. The 13 members bench stated that while amending anything in the Constitution, it cannot tinker with the basic structure of its framework, which is immutable. Such an amendment will be declared invalid even though no part of the Constitution is explicitly prevented. Of course, there is no specific mention in the Constitution about amendment very clearly. So the basic structure should not be touched upon, should not be tinkered with it. That is the final judgment of the Supreme Court. If at all you revise this particular judgment, you need to go for 15 members bench, or again the very same 13 members bench cannot do that. So more than that, 15 members bench needs to be constituted. Then only this particular principle could be changed, because it is a law of the nation today. Kesavananda Bharati versus the state of Kerala lay down the following. One is the supremacy of the Constitution, republic and democratic form of government, secular character of the Constitution. Parliament has no power to make any change. Maintenance of separation of powers, the federal character of the Constitution. These are the things reiterated by the judgment of Supreme Court in this case. Constitution and judiciary. Judiciary is the interpreter of the Constitution. Judiciary interpreter in the sense they need to remain within the framework and interpret. They cannot push in their subjective views. So that's what happening in today's judiciary. In each and everything, while they interpret the Constitution, they are interpreting according to their whims and fancies, according to their whimsical, in a whimsical manner they are interpreting. That should not be done. There is a framework already given. Within that framework, they need to stand, because the basic structures, they need to keep it in mind. The fundamental rights and the justiciable rights, they need to keep it in mind. Without heeding attention to these basic principles or basic structure of the Constitution, they should not interpret differently. So second thing is, judiciary is a kind of watchdog of the Constitution. Today we find the Supreme Court in most of the major cases of very constitutional significance. They are simply washing their hand. Most of the times they say, this is the policy matter of the government. So the court has no say in the policy matters. No, the Constitution is very well telling that the judiciary needs to act as a watchdog. Whenever there is a violation of anything that is violated in the Constitution, the judiciary needs to intervene, but it is not happening. Third thing, judiciary will scrutinize any act of the legislature and executive when it is unconstitutional. There are various laws unconstitutional. See, we can list it very widely. A number of acts have been NIA, for example, National Investigation Amendment Act, very recently created. This NIA, National Investigating Agency, is the one entering into any state without permission of the state government. So to that extent, it has been amended. It is basically eliminating the power, the very power of the state government. So NIA is an agency which can very easily enter into the state and without informing anybody, even to the local police, they can arrest anybody. That is how Father Stan Swami has been arrested a few days back. So this is totally in violation of the Constitution. Whenever there is an act brought out, namely UAPA is another act, Unlawful Activities Prevention Amendment Act, and we have a Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Act. In a whimsical manner, the central government, it has repealed or removed the special status 370, Article 370 from the Constitution book. It is unheard of. It cannot be digested. But even in this matter of a very crucial nature, the Supreme Court is refusing to interfere. This is how the judiciary is completely washing its hand and not at all intervening and being a partner to the government. And judiciary is a guardian in protecting the fundamental rights of the people. See how the fundamental rights of various people, those who have been arrested in Bhima Goregan case. See, Bhima Goregan was a very, very popular event. This is the pride of Dalits. It was celebrated in 2018. They were celebrating the 200th anniversary of that particular event. But whereas they were charged and they are one by one, whoever who supported or whoever who have been behind that event, they are all arrested and their fundamental rights are completely taken away. And it balances the conflicting exercise of power between the center and the state. So once again, even in this matter, the courts, especially the Supreme Court, is remaining as a mute spectator, not at all involving or interfering. Sixth one is independence of the judiciary is a basic feature of the Constitution. So after looking into that, just we will have a glance of how our Constitution has been designed. Originally, there were 8 schedules and 395 articles. Today, it has got 12 schedules and 448 articles. And this is the Constitution which has been amended so many times. So far, we have the amendment, we have got 103 amendments. And the last one was 10% reservation to the economically weaker sections among the high cost. This is totally unconstitutional. Constitution is speaking of social justice, whereas this particular amendment is pushing in social injustice in this country to many people. So this is how the government is operating today. And we find 4 major parts in the Constitution. One is a preamble, very vital. For the Raja was reading very nicely, and each and every word in the preamble is very vital and need to be defended. And the second one is parts 1 to 22, having 448 articles, and there are 12 schedules. Preamble. So these are the key factors remaining in preamble. One is a sovereign. India is a sovereign state and socialist, democratic, secular, and a republic. The people of India, having solemnly resolved, see, this is very, very important. The Dr. Ambedkar has very meaningfully, he has drafted at the inception of at the very beginning of the Constitution, he has placed this preamble telling we the people. He has made the people to own the Constitution. That is the meaning. We the people of India. It's not the Constituent Assembly, but it is made owned by the people. Solemnly resolved to. This is then the words socialist, secular, democratic republic is very, very vital to secure to all its citizens justice. Justice of 3 types. One is social justice. Second one is economic justice. And third is political justice. Without social and economic justice, political justice will become meaningful. Similarly, without social justice, economic and political justice will be meaningful. So these 3 justices are very much vital for a dignified life for any human being to uphold their human rights. And liberty of thought, this is most important aspect of our constitution, of thought, expression, belief, faith. And today we find there is a big damage done to each and every citizen. Any dissenting voice is very immediately suppressed. The police, the intelligence agencies, and the paramilitary forces, they are in the hands of, and the enforcement department, income tax department, everything is in the hands of the mafia. I won't call it a government. It's really a mafia is in place, and they have consolidated power and making use of these very big agencies, including CBI and raw. They are making, they are literally pulverizing the life of the vulnerable communities, the ordinary citizens of India. That's what we find. Absolutely no liberty is given to the citizens. And equality of status and opportunity. Opportunity is very, very vital. Without having any participation in the democratic process or in the activities of the government of the nation, one cannot flourish. So equality is very, very important, and equal opportunity is another basic element of our constitution, which is stressing upon that. And to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and the integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, we have the fundamental values. We, the people, signifies that people is ultimately vested with, the power is ultimately vested with the people. It is of the people, by the people, and for the people. By sovereign, we mean independent nature of our nation. It is externally and internally it is independent, and it has a free government. Now it is being challenged. The government is not free. The government is guided or dictated by an unconstitutional body or extra constitutional body, namely RSS. RSS is guiding, so it is not free. Similarly, the corporates are guiding. Corporates are handling laws. Corporates are handling the parliament. So India is not free. So absolutely, the question comes: is it a sovereign India? It is, the sovereignty is in question. So the constitution is talking about the sovereignty of the people, not of the government or a small system. It is talking about the sovereignty of the people. Then similarly, socialist. Socialist means social equality. So, and it also means economic equality. Social equality is possible only when there is absence of discrimination, all sorts of discrimination, I mean. Similarly, the economic equality is possible only when the government endeavors to make the distribution of wealth. The wealth is amassed. In today's context, the Oxfam report says, the international organization called Oxfam says, just 1% of the population of India is holding 75% of the wealth of the nation. The rest of the wealth is forced to be shared with the 99% of. So this is a great injustice. The distribution of wealth should be looked after by the governments. So that is the meaning of socialist. Secular, the word secular implies that the state has no religion, yet equally respects and treats all religions. All religions are equal before law. So that is the 42nd Amendment in 1976. And now many people are telling it is not originally in the preamble. No, that is not the meaning. Because while independence was given, there was no need for such a thing, because India was a very peaceful country. But after some time, the experiences forced the parliament to bring in this particular amendment, so that the word secular was inserted in the preamble itself. Democracy is a system of rule by law. Every citizen enjoys adult franchise. So the democracy is exercised only when people participate. So we have a number of examples in this aspect. So even today we find India is one of the countries which you find so many protests all over India happening every day. Tamil Nadu is more vibrant, I would say. Because in Tamil Nadu, there are more than 26,000 protests taking place in each and every year. More than 26,000 protests, major protests, not small protests. So this is how the democracy is exercised by participating. Similarly, the meaning of a republic is the rule of law. That is exactly what a republic is. The rule of law is exercised. It is upheld. Republic is a form of government which is subjected to the rule of law. Structure of union government, I want to go quickly. The president is there, the vice president is there, and there is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, so which consists of members. Lok Sabha members are elected directly. Both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha are the grounds for debating. So this is the main thing we need to understand. That this is not for just the nowadays MPs of Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. They are going just like a picnic, and they are going to Delhi as picnic and as tours, and they enjoy their life and come back. No, that is not the thing. Ambedkar has very meticulously instructed that the responsibilities of the members of the parliament, whether it is a Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and the people need to question their own MPs, whoever may be. They need to serve the people. They are not simply having sojourn period in Delhi and going to Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha collecting their tips. No, not like that. So this is a place meant for debating and passing the bills. They have to pay key attention for each and every law that is being enacted. But today, the parliament looks very funny, and very few speakers are making some contributions with regard to, I don't know how many will really understand and how many of them will really know, read and write. That is a big question, because 36% of today's parliament are criminals. And there are a number of cases, not ordinary cases. Hardcore cases are lying against them. But these cases are pending for several decades. So this is what happening. Then you can imagine how our parliamentary system will. And there are various bills. And nowadays, in particular session, there are 36 bills attested or 63 bills attested or passed. It is totally meaningless. The members of the parliament, they have absolutely no sense. The government, of course, it is a fascist government. It will behave like that. But where the minds and the hearts of the members of they have received the votes of the people, and they need to represent. They need to be the voice of the people in the parliament. But it is not happening, and bills are very meticulously pushed in, and the bills are mostly designed by RSS or by the corporates. So these are the bills taking place. See, today we have a number of bills even in recent parliament taking place. So this is what happening. The Supreme Court, the apex body, we know the condition today, and the judges are, after retirement, they are not supposed to be employed in any of the government establishment. But today they are not getting recruited in the government jobs, but very nicely, very critically or cunningly, they are taking the space of a governorship or a membership in the parliament. Like that it is going on. It is very sorry state of affair to speak about. Main functions of the Supreme Court. They need to solve disputes between states and union, and guardian and protector. We have already seen. Comptroller and Auditor General. It is another independent body which needs to conduct its audit over the government, and it's a very responsible body. And this body also, once again, it has been tinkered with, or it has been already mutilated, and we find no genuine person or no real people who with the guts taking effort to do their responsibility in this particular office. Attorney General, they are supposed to be the voice of the government, and they are doing it because the government is a fascist. So similarly, the Attorney Generals are reflecting the fascist tendency in the Supreme Courts, and repeatedly in most of the vital cases, very significant cases, very, very important cases, the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, they're all filing very, what we call very much false affidavits in various cases. We have already seen in the case of Rafale, in the case of Ayodhya, in the case of CBI, and number of cases, the government advocates who are supposed to speak truth, who are supposed to be consciously doing their work, they have very openly filing false affidavits and misleading the courts. Courts also know that, so everybody is in hand in glove. So this is a very pathetic condition. And constitutional rights, we have, of course, fundamental rights, Article 14 to 30, and there are directive principles of state policy. Fundamental rights, we have incorporated, the drafting committee has incorporated most of these rights from UDHR. Of course, UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 30 articles speaks about the importance of inalienable rights need to be defended of each and every being. So Ambedkar has very meticulously incorporated those rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, into this particular part, and it is very much exercisable. Whenever the fundamental rights are violated or infringed, the person, the individual, is having the right to approach the High Court or Supreme Court directly. That is a very powerful tool given to the citizens of India. But given to the nature of our country, how many are having access to approach the Supreme Court? How many are having access to high courts by way of litigating their cases? It is very difficult for the vulnerable communities. That's why we find cases like Khair Lanji and so many other cases are taking place in India, and nobody is there to looking into that. Directive principles of state policy, this is another major area which is a guiding star or guiding principles to the government, both the state and central. Unfortunately, this particular fourth part of the constitution is completely neglected by the governments. This is another state of affair, completely neglecting. What is happening in this in the country is just opposite to that, because these directive principles always try to fulfill or try to fulfill the vision of the constitution. What we have seen in the preamble, no, the vision of the constitution, the secular nature, the democratic nature, the republic nature, the sovereign nature, or socialist nature. There is absolutely no socialism in the country. Everything has been turned into capitalism. So directive principles have been literally foo-fooed by the subsequent governments. That's what we see. And there are a number of duties of citizens prevailing. With that, I think I can stop so that we can have some sort of very meaningful discussion, little bit of discussion. I think only for that we have some time. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Philomen, for your beautiful presentation. In fact, you are very clearly, precisely, you have explained about the Constitution of India. You gave a historical basis, and then also you also brought out very clearly the tension which existed between Gandhiji and Ambedkar, and then Ambedkar, who stood for the rights of the Dalits, and finally he was able to bring out a beautiful Constitution of India. And you said Constitution is vibrant, dynamic, it is not a static one. Also the federal nature of India also is explained, the state government, central government. And as you were explaining, you also gave a lot of examples, in fact. And then you also explained to us about the supremacy of the Constitution and the rest of it. Anyway, I'm not going to the details. At this point of time, the viewers, those who have listened to Father Philomen Raj, if you have questions to ask him, please unmute, and then you can ask also the computer operators, Father Saradi and Fabin also could do that for them. Raise your hands, or you just unmute and raise, otherwise you put it in the chat box. Or you can also use the computer hand. Any clarification with regard to this topic? Anything you want to ask, Father Philomen? Many of us actually we are familiar with, probably we would have learned about the Constitution of India. And then today his presentation was being a practicing lawyer from his experience, and then a lot of clarity was there. Even I myself learned a lot of, I got new insights from his presentation.
Yamma,
Yeah,
I have raised my hand. You didn't see that sign. Okay.
yeah. You know who is speaking?
Who is speaking? Hello.
John Kumar. Kumar.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Congratulations, Philomen. You've done a great job. Not only bringing in the insights and the historical insights from the Constitution, also linking up with what's happening today. The people would like to throw this beautiful, noble Constitution and bring in Sanatan. What existed before, ages before the Britishers came and gave a kind of course correction, they want to bring it back again. So they are trying to mutilate the great volumes of our rights enshrined in the Constitution. And you have rightly done with many critics and collecting with today's situation, what's happening. So we, as lovers of the democratic principles, secular values, and socialistic, economic, social, political justice be done, we need to realize this and spread this discourse, continue, and some change radically comes into the country. So we need to do our part. So thanks for Philomen. I will come out with some questions later. Now.
Yeah, thank you, John Kumar.
Okay.
Somebody is
Yes.
putting up. Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah. Just unmute Mr. Thomas. Father, Mr. I don't know.
Thomas is not audible. Please unmute.
Or PRO. Thomas.
PRO, okay. Face is in darkness. Okay. Background, there is light.
Thomas, you can speak. You need to unmute. You are not heard. You are not heard.
Father Sarathi, you can unmute also. Yeah, yes.
Thomas is not here heard. Your voice is not heard here.
Maybe the mic issue, I think.
Yeah.
You have to open your mic.
There are 2 questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
Father, kindly just go through.
Yeah, one is fundamental rights are given in part 3. That is articles from 12 to 35. That is true. Is there any provision for the persons in post not working their best or sincerely? See, actually, even in our constitution, you find that there is a provision to elect the members, but there is no provision to call back if they are not responsibly behaving. At least in the executive, in the bureaucratic level, we have some sort of rules and principles which is operating factor. If somebody goes wrong, commits some mistakes, there is some space to, some mechanism to look into. But whereas in parliamentary system, that is one defect. Also, another defect is the constitutional authorities, namely the president, the governors, also those who are heading the constitutional institution, namely the judiciary, precisely High Court and Supreme Court judges. They can commit any sort of wrongs. They can even interpret the law according to their whimsical manner. So that could be done. But the thing is, there is no mechanism available in the Constitution except impeachment. Impeachment, it is in the given situation, in the given parliamentary situation, impeachment is very, very difficult. So far in history, impeachment was not used except 1 or 2 occasions. So that's what happening. That is about the. Then any other question, which is in today's situation, what are the immediate constitutional measures available in the case of for the stand? Of course, see, for the stand's case, see, already there is a amendment brought in NIA, National Investigating Agency. So that is a very dangerous amendment. The amendment says anybody can be booked in, or if there is any suspicion of anti-national activities, or any suspicion over a person who is operating against the interests of the nation. The interests of the nation could be interpreted according to the persons. It is a subjective. The government or police can interpret in any manner. So any activity is happening, they can be arrested without even informing the state government, the concerned state government, even without informing the local police. So they are simply trespassing into the state government's rights and removing people like that. So the constitutional measures, only thing is we have to make the court, we have to approach the court. Already there are cases pending challenging the NIA and UAPA. UAPA is Unlawful Activities Prevention Amendment Act. So these 2 acts are very dangerous. For the stand has been booked under these 2 acts. So to challenge that FAR, the courts should be open, because they should recognize that these
Philomen, your mic is muted. Philomen.
Father Saradi.
I think he is having some network issues.
Network, okay. We'll come back again. Yeah, there are some questions. Father Philomen is not. Hello. Maybe battery issue, probably. Yeah, for the time being, probably we. Hello, for the Philomen. Yeah, we go ahead with. We have just 1 or 2 items on the agenda. After this, probably after that, if Philomen is able to come in, then again we'll continue to ask. There are a few questions on the chat box. I will ask him to explain. Now we are going to read out a proclamation of our protest. Father Stan Lursami's case was explained. Father Stan Lursami, am I audible?
Yeah.
You're audible.
Yeah. Father Stan Lursami has worked for more than 40 years for the rights of Adivasis, mainly in Jharkhand. And sometime back, he published a number of reasons for which the government is after him. Number 1, I'm just not going to read the total explanation, only just a few lines. Number 1, Father Stan says, I have questioned the non-implementation of the 5th schedule of the Constitution, Article 244, which clearly stipulates that a Tribes Advisory Council, TAC, composed of solely of members from the Adivasi community, will advise the governor of the state about any and everything concerning the protection, well-being, and development of the Adivasi people in the state. That was not implemented, therefore he questioned. Number 2, I questioned why the Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act 1996 has been neatly ignored. Number 3, I question the silence of the government on Samatha Judgment 1997 of the Supreme Court, which came as a huge relief to the Adivasi communities in scheduled areas. But then that was not, that was ignored. The fourth reason, what he is saying is, I question the half-hearted action of government on Forest Rights Act 2006, Jal Jungle Jameen. The fifth one, he says, I question the inaction of the government to carry out the Supreme Court order that the owner of the land is also the owner of the subsoil minerals. The sixth one, I have questioned the reasons why the SC Supreme Court observation is being ignored, that mere membership of a banned organization will not make a person a criminal unless he resorts to violence or incites people to violence or creates public disorder by violence. Seventh one, I question the recently enacted amendment to the Land Acquisition Act 2013 by the Jharkhand government. Eighth one, I question the land bank, which I see as the most recent plot to annihilate the Adivasi people. So these are the reasons, he says, for which he was fighting as a committed social activist for a period of 40 years. Now the government says that he is a terrorist, he is having links with the Maoist groups, which is totally false. People are in the dark that their land is being written off. The TAC has not given its approval as is required by the 5th schedule. So these are the reasons for which the NIC, National Investigation Agency, was after him. And then now he's arrested, put behind bars till October 23rd. So we have to.
Philomen is back.
Yeah, sorry, my connection got cut and I'm back.
Yeah. Now probably Philomen, you can come in again. Just now I read about Father Stan.
Yeah.
And then immediately I request Father John Kumar to read out the proclamation of our protest. Protest of all the ICUF members of all over India, and then IDCR and Social Watch, asking the government to release the innocent 83-year-old Stan Lursamy, who is a committed Jesuit social activist. It's over to Father Kumar.
Dear friends, on behalf of all of you gathered here virtually, I am reading out this. Our emphatic. Can you hear me?
Okay, Kumar, go ahead.
This registration of protest is read out on behalf of all of us gathered here virtually. Our emphatic registration and proclamation of our protest. All India Catholic University Federation, Institute of Dialogue with Cultures and Religions, and Social Watch Tamil Nadu strongly condemn the arrest of Father Stan Lursamy, 83 years old, a Jesuit activist from Bagaicha Center, a tribal research center and training center empowering the scheduled tribes of Central India. We strongly and unequivocally condemn the fact that Stan Lursamy, a great social worker, leader, animator, and columnist in local media, has been lodged in prison by the National Intelligence Agency, NIA. This inhuman treatment meted out to an 83-year-old person, frail and peace-loving citizen of India who has given his life in the service of the Adivasis and other marginalized sections of society, speaks volumes of the deterioration of the democratic ethos in the country. We call upon the government of India to ensure Father Stan's safety, unconditional and immediate release, and to guarantee that he is no longer victimized, implicated in false cases. We also demand the immediate and unconditional release of all the human rights defenders and other dissenters who have been illegally detained and incarcerated for the last few years. We call upon all citizens of India who cherish the rights and freedom enshrined in our Constitution to join us in condemning Father Stan's illegal arrest and custody and to help ensure his immediate release. We also invite all citizens who believe in democratic principles to join us in this protest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Father Kumar. Um, now, I invite Alvin. After vote of thanks, still clarification will be done by Father Philomen. Kindly hold on. We said up to 7:30. We are well ahead of time. And right now I invite Alvin, who is a national convener, a president, to propose vote of thanks.
Father
Saradi, just mute your mic. Yes. Now, Alvin.
Yes, Father.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Gratitude comes from the bottom of the heart. I take this opportunity to thank Father Maria Arul Raja, Director, IDCR, for reading out the preamble of our Indian Constitution. I also thank Mr. Febin, ICUF National Full-Timer. Special thanks to Advocate and Father Dr. Philomen Raj, SJ, for sharing his valuable thoughts. I also thank Father John Kumar for proclaiming the protest statements. Above all, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Father Emma SJ, ICUF National Advisor, and Father Sardi SJ, ICUF TN State Advisor, for his technical support, and also to other advisors and animators. But not least, I thank our participant, ICUF national team, and other ICUFers and leaders for being there with us. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Alvin. Now, small formality. Kindly open the video camera for a snap. They will take an on-screen snap for all those who attended. Actually, some of them have left. We were about 137. Right now we are 109. Father Sardi and Father Febin, you can click your photographs. Done.